At the tone, New England telephone time will be 8:04 and 10 seconds. Temperature at 70 Fahrenheit. At the tone, New England telephone time will be 8:04 and 20 seconds. Temperature at 70 Fahrenheit. At the tone, New England telephone time will be 8:04 and 30 seconds. Temperature at 70 Fahrenheit. At the tone, New England telephone time will be 8:04 and 40 seconds. Temperature at 70 Fahrenheit. At the tone, New England telephone time will be 8:04 and 50 seconds. Temperature at 70 Fahrenheit. At the tone, New England telephone time will be 8:05 exactly. Temperature at 70 Fahrenheit.
I've been transmitting a contact signal every 5 minutes as ordered, sir. All I get is dead air. Shall I continue?
We started Dead Air Live in November of '74, you know, Dead Air. And we said, yeah, we wanted to do it live, so hence the name Dead Air Live. What we did was that we just take an image like this and move it around, and think just different crazy effects. Anything went. Just directly spinning around his head like a halo. And we got response though. People like the show, you know. They'll call in, and we had different people call in. Like there was one guy called the radio.
Dead Air Live expands your mind? It blows my mind.
Good evening. The time's 8:06, and now we're on live. This is Dead Air Live. I'm your host this evening, Larry Yeager. Welcome to The Expressionless Face Says It All. Why did we name it that? Dan, I just don't have the slightest idea. Actually, I do know because it was said about Dan Rather in this morning's Globe. This evening, we're going to be, once again, showing a series of tapes from the Somerville Producers Group archives. Those who watch Dead Air Live regularly know that we've been showing tapes from the Dead Air Live archive a lot recently. There's any number of reasons for this. All of them are boring. In the next tape, we will go to 2 weeks ago when we were on the show. We showed a tape called America, which was the Simon and Garfunkel song with a bunch of footage that was edited out of a film that I found in Buffalo. Well, watching that on the show inspired me to try again at editing something else from it. And Broccoli, a song by The Association, is what I edited. So let's look at it.
Broccoli, I really dig its steam. Broccoli, just plain with cheese or cream. I like to eat it with my mouth, it tastes so good. I like to eat it with my mouth, it's my favorite food. Broccoli, it grows right from the ground. Broccoli, I even dig the sound. A favorite Atlantic They thought it was the end. A favorite Atlantean dish. I'm a-turning you on, my friend. I'm a-turning you on, my friend. Broccoli. I really dig it, Steve. Yeah! Broccoli. Just plain with cheese or cream. Oh, I like to eat it.
The boys have asked me to say a few words about broccoli. Well, I don't really know a lot about broccoli, but I do know what I like. And broccoli is it.
That was Broccoli. And the footage, as I said, was from a bunch of Super 8 movie film that I found in a cabinet out at the State University of New York at Buffalo Communications College. I don't have the slightest idea who the people are in the film, where it was shot, when it was shot, or under what condition the people were when they shot it. But I've edited a number of different things from it. That was the most recent. Now, moving right along, the Somerville Producers Group is bringing you the show this evening, and it's tapes from our archive. And those of you who regularly watch the Producers Group Dead Air Live show every Tuesday and Thursday evening know that we frequently, when we have shows like this, ask for phone calls. And that's true this evening. We're hoping that you will call. You can talk to us at 628-8826. Now, this is only good on May the 30th, 1989. So please give us a call. We'll be glad to talk to you, whatever you want to talk about. If you want to talk about a recent award that SCAT won, if you want to talk about most anything, I'll be glad to talk to you. If you have any comment about the tapes we will show, or have shown, please call. I'll be glad to talk to you. This evening we had Broccoli. The next tape, as those of you who watched 2 weeks ago on our more generic Dead Air show, which was very similar to this show because we've been having trouble coming up with guests for some reason in May. But the one tape that we showed were excerpts from a show, Mystic Live, which was broadcast in the 70s by a bunch of young people from the Mystic Housing Project in cooperation with the Elizabeth Peabody House and Warner Access at the time up in Davis Square. One part of the tape that we showed 2 weeks ago was Billy Westgate and Professor Westgate's dictionary and his definition of dirigible. When we went back and were talking about the show afterward, in our critique, which the Producers Group does every week after you watch the show, we go watch the show. And when we were talking about it, I was mentioning that we have a tape that had an interview from just a couple years ago with Billy Westgate, who was on leave from the Army. And it was on a History of Public Access show from Community TV Week a couple years ago. And let's go to that.
Today we're here at Mystic Housing Projects and we're interviewing a young man named Bill Westgate. And we have a lot of questions for you about some of the early days in public access. First of all, could you tell me how you got involved in doing public access television?
Well, I really got involved through my brothers. You know, they belonged to this producers group that was part of the Elizabeth Peabody House. And, you know, down here there's nothing to do, really, so I started going with them, and then we got really involved.
Mm-hmm. What year was that and how old were you?
Oh, God. I was about 12.
Good evening and welcome to Mystic Update. My name is Bo Westgate. Will money be spent to build a stairway up the mountain at the Mystic Housing Project? We will soon find out.
What kind of shows that you were involved with?
Well, the group that I was in, we were involved in all the Mystic Live shows that were produced. Anything that came out of the Peabody House, one of the kids out of the group was involved in either, you know, talking in front of the camera, listening to the audio, or running the camera itself. But there's a lot of them. Stairway to Heaven, you know, the Mystic Live shows themselves, you know, different tapes.
What was it like to see the stuff that you had produced on TV?
Oh, it was great. I loved it. You know, you know, I watched Channel 3 and said, you know, that's what I did. But that was only after a while. You know, we couldn't get stuff on the air at the beginning. It was hard. Had to.
What do you mean, down here at the Mystic?
Yeah, because the people at the beginning, we didn't have cable. You know, then we did a show on that, and even after we got cable, we had to fight for time. You know, we couldn't do anything live. It had to all be pre-taped, and then, you know, even still, we had to make sure we got a slot.
Why did it have to be pre-taped in those days?
Oh, in those days, because we didn't have any studio time. You know, we hadn't advanced that far enough for the Warner Cable people to trust us with their equipment. You know, the whole studio.
Because of your age?
Yes, that was more like it. For the half-hour show we did, you know, we'd have to have it thought of at least a week in advance. You know, this isn't a rush put together thing. You know, we'd sit in our little space the Peabody House gave us, and the whole group of us, we just discussed different topics, different ideas of what should we put on this week. You know, what do you think the people would be interested in seeing, and, you know, what important is going on right now that people should know. And then from there, we broke it down into, okay, who are we going to have on, who, you know, what are we going to see, you know, what are we going to show the people. And then from there, it got into more technical things like which camera are we going to use, you know, is it going to be a zoom, is it going to be a 2-shot, is it going to be wide, you know. And we'd put it together over the week. And it got a lot tighter when we got to do the live shows, because, you know, you couldn't retape anything, so anything you did had to be right there, spur of the moment thing.
Which do you prefer, pre-tape shows or live shows?
I prefer doing the live shows, you know, but
why?
Well, it's because we could have telephone callers, you know. Occasionally we'd have people call in with comments. And, you know, it was fun, because the people here were getting involved in what we were doing. They were behind us.
Right now we have a phone call. Hello? I think Mr. Gray, the maintenance is doing a good job. I'd like to hear his opinion, please.
What would you say your favorite role was working on these TV shows?
Well, I liked running the switchboard the best, you know. But directing, like I said earlier, you know, during the group meetings, you know, whoever lost that week got to be the host, and most of the time it was me.
Good evening and welcome to Mystic Live. My name is Bo Westgate. The top stories of the week are Somerville Housing Authority is investigated for missing funds, MHTA elects new officers, Judge Garrity stops welfare fraud probe, Mr. Alive is awarded $1,500 in planned monthly format. Later on in the program, we'll look at the Grimman School production of Robin Hood.
To us, it was important because we were actually doing something. You know, we started off with a little recorder, little camera, you know, and then after a while, we got things together, and we started to, you know, do the show. And you know, then we had to fight for the live time. You know, we had to really show them that we were responsible enough to do things. You know, and, well, the two people at Public Access, like Penny Legler and Bill Huggins, you know, they were really receptive of our ideas, you know, and they helped us along. But you know, just the need for the television, you know, for something important to do. I think that's it.
But if you could give some advice to kids today in terms of public access, what would you take? You think kids could make a change?
I definitely think kids could make a change because our group made a difference, you know. And just getting it out in the open makes a difference. And yes, I think they can.
We're back in the studio. That was an interview with Bill Westgate from our October 7th, 1986 show on the history of public access, Volume 2, the middle years or something like that. I don't really remember the name of the show offhand, but it was from October of '86. The interview was sometime that summer. He was on leave from the Army. Okay. Please, once again, we're in the studio, and we're waiting for you to call. Phone number is 628-8826. We'd like, you know, your reactions to what we do every other week, and your reactions to the tapes we show on the alternate weeks when we aren't here live. If you have any suggestions for things we could do shows on, we'd appreciate that too. This evening, that's what we're doing. We're just looking for phone calls and showing tapes, as we did and will do. Okay. Back to the next tape was shot around Somerville, and it's the song that it was edited to is by the Pogues. It's called Dirty Old Town, and let's watch it.
I met my love by the gasworks wall. Dreamed a dream by the old canal. I kissed my girl by the factory wall. Dirty old town, dirty old town. Clouds are drifting across the moon. Cats are prowling on their beat. Springs a girl from the streets at night. Dirty old town, dirty old town. run from the ducks. Saw a train set the night on fire. I smelled the spring on the smoky wind. Dirty old town, dirty old town. I'm gonna make me a picture back, shining steel, tempered in the fire. I'll chop you down like an old Dutch tree. Dirty old town, dirty old town. I met my love by the gasworks wall. Dreamed a dream by the old canal. I kissed my girl by the factory wall. Dirty old town, dirty old town, dirty old town, dirty old town.
Okay, we're back in the studio. Do you consider Somerville to be a dirty old town? There is something you can do about it, you know. On the second Saturday of each month, which should be June 11th, next month, there's a Somerville Recycling Day at the DPW yard on Franny Road. And what we'd like is just to let you know that in fact there is, you know, Somerville does do this, and in fact in the Journal a couple weeks ago, the recycling's made $322 in the first 2 months it was in operation. That's not a lot of money, but that's not bad either. The more people that recycle, the better. They'll take plastic, they'll take glass, and papers. Now, if you're interested in getting further information on Somerville recycling, the phone call, you should call Judy Goldberg at 625-6600, extension 2500. She could fill you in on exactly what they will take, what they won't take. I know they won't take like phone books and magazines, but they do take newspapers, anything that, you know, junk mail that comes in, stuff like that. They'll take plastic. And the same phone number is good if you're interested in volunteering to help out with recycling. So, you know, if you think that Somerville shouldn't be considered a dirty old town, maybe what you should do is help out with recycling to clean the place up. Okay. Anyway, that was dirty old town, the Pogues. Now, we are coming to summertime. And in the summertime, I think of where I spent all my summers when I was growing up, where my family spent all its summers when I was growing up, and in fact, the family goes back to sometime in the 1920s going to this location. My parents went there on their honeymoon, and the next tape is just from old home movies. It's called Sandpoint. It's a 50-year retrospective of home movies. Let's go to the tape. we're back in the studio, and I just wanted to say that Bob Dylan once said, "To be honest, you know, I don't have any hopes for the future, and I just hope to have enough boots to be able to change them." That's all, really. It doesn't boil down to anything more than that. If it did, I certainly would tell you. So that's what Dylan says. That last tape was called Sandpoint. Sandpoint Beach on Scroon Lake in the Adirondack Mountains of upstate New York is where I spent all my summers when I was growing up. I was in there, my parents were in there, my whole family was in there. It was real exciting and a whole lot of fun. And I hope you enjoyed it. And this is Dead Air Live. The name of this evening's show is written on this piece of paper. The Expressionless face says it all. And I hope you're enjoying the show. It's tapes. We would like phone calls, 628-8826 this evening, May 30th, 1989. Yeah, that's what we were doing. Okay, that was summertime. Now what we will do is the next tape, which is more of a wintertime, summertime tape, or summertime, wintertime tape, or something like that. It's called In Your Car at the Ocean. So let's look at the tape. We're back in the studio. This is Dead Air Live, and you're not. Okay. As you can see, I have chroma keyed behind me a theater. I wanted to make a little comment about how I feel about the idea of the Somerville Theater being turned into a multi-screen, whatever you'd call it. I personally think it would be about the worst thing that could happen to Davis Square. All I picture is what they did to the Harvard Square Theater, which used to be a beautiful old theater with this nice big foyer that's a Army-Navy store now. And they took the entrance and knocked it out altogether, and they made one nice theater into a million little theaters that you don't really get to see anything properly in. I think that the idea of doing anything to the Somerville Theater other than possibly rehabbing it inside so that it would be in really pristine condition is a really horrible idea. What do you think? We're taking phone calls tonight, 628-8826. Please, you know, if you feel one way or the other, if you think it should be a multi-screen abomination, then give us a call and let us know. If you agree that a multi-screen thing is an abomination, give us a call and tell us you agree with that too. I think it's a good idea to turn it into a historical landmark. It's an old theater. It's a beautiful old theater, and it's, you know, it just appalls me even to think of doing that to it. And ugh, there are enough cinemas out at that Saks one that's out over by Assembly Square. Anyway, that's just a little bit of griping. That was In Your Car at the Ocean. The music and the video were by Steve Sherblum, Producers Group member. The next tape we have should be a story by Sarah Ranson from an Irish show from a couple years ago, Dead Air Live production. Let's go to the tape.
Well, enough of silly stories. Play a couple of Irish tunes. For those of you who haven't seen one before, this is a mandolin. And play a couple of Irish tunes. Let's see. St. Anne's Reel and Red-Haired Boy, and we'll see what happens after that.
It's not right to kill the seals. You know, they have the same feelings as you and I, they do. They know anger and sorrow and fear and playfulness as well. They have all the same feelings. They're the people of the sea, you understand. Now that sound you was hearing just now, that's the sound of some young man seal looking for his mate and not finding her. He's crying for her now. I've heard that sound all my life, and it still puts the heart right across me. You know, they nurse their children same as people do, same as we do. And it's said that if you drink a bit of seal's milk, it'll raise an inch of fat on you. It's a true story, you know, because, well, that fella that lived up there on the top of the hill, in the big manse there, he had seal's milk. It all started when he was but an infant in the cradle, you see. His mother, she'd gone down to the town to do some shopping, and the father was left with the baby in the cradle, and it being a fine sunny day, he took the cradle outside and was sitting there in his chair, fine as you want, and rocking the cradle, rocking the cradle. That's when his neighbor come along. His neighbor come along, he was a seal killer, you understand, and he says, let's go killing the seals, it's a fine day. Well, now, the father, he's a seal killer, too. He'd like to be out there, but I cannot go. You see, I got the wee bairn here with me. I cannot take him, and I cannot leave him. Well, the neighbor said, you look at the sea. There's not a wrinkle on it. You can go out there. You take the babe and put him in the front of the current. It'll be like a cradle there. Well, that's all the father needed. He was convinced. So he's taken his little tiny one, and they went out into the curragh and placed the babe right in the front of the curragh and rowed themselves out to the Soul Scarry. Now, you'd know the Soul Scarry if you could see. If it were daytime, you'd be looking out the window there, and you'd see it. It's nothing but a bunch of rocks, but the seals like it. That's where the men go hunting, and that's where all the seals are. So they was rowing themselves out there, and it being low tide, when they got there, there was a muckle wide holler there, and a kind of a cave that goes off under the rocks. And that's where the seals like to hide out. Well, the father, he tied the boat up there, and not wanting to leave the child there for fear the boat gets loose, he brought the baby up and put it there on a shelf in the cave, just at the mouth of the cave, high up, a safe place, he thought. And then they took their clubs, and they went in hunting. You know how they kill the seals is they bash them over the head, they do, and then they take their knives and they slit the skins and peel the skins off the body. It's horrible work. I'm glad folks don't do it no more. But he was taking this club of his, and he and the two of them were going off into the cave, going to club some seals. While they was about their dirty business, a storm come up. You know how fast storms come up on the ocean sometimes, especially on the islands. The wind just comes whipping up and starts the waves of flashing and splashing, and they can cover up the whole mouth of the cave, building up as they do. And, well, the men started realizing that there must be a storm outside the cave. The water's beginning to knock the feet out from under them, and they panic. They drop their clubs, and they start running out. They run out to the mouth of the cave. They leap into the curragh, pull up the rope, and they're rowing back. They're rowing back as fast as they can, get back to the island, back from the island, back to the mainland. Well, they were about halfway before they realized that they'd forgot the baby. The father, he goes kind of crazy. He starts screaming, my child, we cannot go. You turn the boat around, my baby's back there in the cave, he's crying. But the neighbor says, there's no going back now. The storm is too wild. If you look back now, you'll see the waves are covering the whole mouth of the cave. Your baby's not alive anymore, he's a dead one. We might as well be saving the lives of the two of us, for there's nothing we can do. Well, the father, he collapsed in the curragh and began to weep and sob. And when they got back to the mainland, he couldn't even say a word to his wife. He just come in and sat down. It was the neighbor had to do the talking. He couldn't cry no more, and neither could his wife. And they just sat there, not looking at each other, just sitting there. The whole of the town come out to wake the baby. Oh, everybody crowded into that house for that night. In fact, the storm was so bad it lasted a full 3 days, and The neighbors, they stayed the whole 3 days, making lots of food and music and dance, trying to raise the spirits of the mother and father, you understand, and try to help them to remember to go on living now that the baby's gone. But they never changed. Now when everybody left and the mother and father was left alone in the house, the father looked out, and when he saw that the storm was gone and the sun shining bright, he didn't say a word, but he went back down to the edge of the sea, and he got in his curragh and he rowed out. He rowed out slow and easy till he got back there. Now it was low tide again, and he tied the curragh up on the same rock, and then he's going over to the cave. Now, I tell you, tears are blind in his eye when he's going. He goes to the shelf, hoping that his baby'd be lying there, but there's not a shred. He was hoping to find a piece of cloth or something, but there was nothing there. By now, he can hardly see, and he's scratching himself against the rocks. He's going inside the cave, hoping maybe the baby's been washed in. He bring the baby home and at least give it a decent burial. And as he's going in, he sees that there's a seal in there, and the seal gets frightened. She drops what she's holding, her baby, I think he's nursing, and she goes into the water and swims out the mouth of the cave. And the father, he keeps walking into the cave thinking, well, at least I'll have a baby seal there worth something. You know, when he got there, there was not a baby seal lying there upon the strand, but his own wee child. And the child was warm and happy and healthy, as any baby'd want to see. That's what I was telling you. You see, the seal folk, they care for living things, and we should do the same. That seal mother had cared for that baby through the whole storm and nursed it. So it was a happy father that brought that baby back from the island to the mainland, I'll tell you. Well, that's not quite the end of the story. There's a bit more I'll be wanting to tell you. Now, he grew up, he did. And when he was about 5, they told him what had happened to him when he was the wee babe. And from that day onward, he'd take a great big basket full of fish, he would, and he'd go out at low tide when he could see the Soul Scarry, and he'd dump the whole fish on one of the rocks there, and then stand back and watch. He did that every day. And every day, the same seal would leave the scarry and swim up and eat those fish and wave a flipper as she went on. Now, you know as well as I do that that was his own seal mother.
Oh. We're back in the studio, and that was something. Oh, that was from March of '87. Please, we're still taking phone calls for all you people who've called in. We're still waiting. It's 628-8826, 628-8826, and we're still waiting. That was Sarah Ranson telling a story from March of '87, and that was then, and this is now. And our next tape is another winter-summer tape that is summer-winter. It's summer, no, it's almost summer now, and we're going to show a winter tape. It's called The Cape, January '73. So it's an old summer-winter tape. And is that ours?
Yeah.
Let's see. Which ones? Hello?
Hello, Scott. Hello?
Hello, Dead Air Live? Are you calling Dead Air Live or just Scott? Hello?
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 Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you very well. This is Sev.
Oh, this is Sev.
Yeah, I just wanted to compliment you on the quality of the show this evening.
Why, thank you.
And I'm looking forward to the next tape.
Good. Well, let's go to it then.
Great.
Wait, take the other line.
take the other line. Hello? Hello? Are we supposed to have another line?
Yeah, mate, hello.
Hello?
Hello.
You probably can't hear me. Hello?
Hello.
Are you watching TV?
Sure I am.
Can you hear me on your TV?
Yes, I can.
How are you? What's your name?
Not bad. My name's Greg.
Greg.
I was born and raised in Somerville. I was wondering about yourself. Where were you born?
I was born in Schenectady, New York.
Oh, boy. And how long have you lived in Somerville?
15 years.
15 years, huh?
Yeah.
So do you consider yourself an expert on the city?
An expert on the city? Hell no.
Well, I was wondering myself, how could I get involved in SCAT myself?
Well, all you'd really have to do is come down to the SCAT studio in Union Square.
And who would I speak with?
Whoever's at the desk, actually. Any number of people.
Could I get on the show with you someday and maybe sing a song?
That's not out of the question.
Do an impersonation of someone named Johnny Most. Have you ever heard of him?
Johnny Most. Did he recently get married?
Yes, I did get married to a lovely lady, and I'm having a great time. I'm waiting for the Celtics to get their stuff together. But I was just wondering, why is there nothing on SCAT, on sports at all? I mean, I know you got that baseball show there, but those guys, I mean, they ain't really impressive at all to me. I'm talking about people from Somerville who've lived in Somerville. I'd like to see a recreation game on the air or something like that, anything like that. Somerville people, Somerville history. Because as you know, I own property in Somerville too.
Do you?
In Winter Hill, off of Broadway. I don't want to give the exact address. And also my good friend Tommy Heinsohn owns property around here too. And I've grown to love Somerville, and I flick around and I see all these people on here, and I don't see any sports at all. I see a lot of international events going on and concerned about world peace, which is great. I'm all for that. But I just think that sports are very important too, especially for young kids. We want to get them off the drugs and into sports.
Well,
Am I right or wrong?
that's true. You do. They do broadcast some football and basketball games from the high school. I know that, at least on the municipal channel.
What channel is that? Is that 22?
Yeah, it's one of the other SCAT channels.
Okay. How long has SCAT been in existence?
SCAT itself was what? It's almost 10 years old.
Almost 10 years old. Geez, 10 years old.
That's
I
right.
haven't really heard too much about it.
Well, it's been on Channel 3. Well, we got to go to the tape, okay?
All right, hey, it was nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you, Greg or Johnny, as the case may be. We're cutting the tape? Okay. Well, that was our show for the evening. I hope you enjoyed it. Obviously, Greg, Johnny did. Thanks for watching. Hope you watch again in 2 weeks when Dead Air Live will be on live again. Good night.